Hey guys, Technomentary with the video for you guys. In today's video, we're going to review the iPhone XS going into 2024. If this phone is still worth it, if you're using it, or if you're thinking about upgrading from it, or if you're thinking about purchasing this device, everything that you need to know about the iPhone XS up to this point, we're going to explain to you in this video. So let's get started. So the iPhone XS here is one of the series from the 10 lineup. You have the regular 10, 10R, and then the 10S released in September of 2018. Now it's been a little over 5.5 years since this phone has been released, and 5 years is sort of the point where the iPhone starts to kind of phase out in terms of software update, and this phone does get the latest software update, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, a couple things about the phone since it was released. Now, it was released with a 3 different model of colors. You have the gold color, you have the space gray, and the silver edition as well. This is built with stainless steel, as you can see here, rounded edges here, two 12 megapixel dual camera here. The back is a glass, and you can see here the frame. And this phone does have a physical SIM card, unlike starting with the iPhone 14 where there is no longer a physical SIM card. You still have the physical SIM card. So if you're looking for a phone with the physical SIM card, this is where this phone stands. Now, a couple other things here. The display size is a little bit smaller compared to some of the max sizes that has. This is a 10S, not the max. This one is a 5.8 Super Retina display here that we have, and equipped with this phone is A12 Bionic chip with 4 gigs of RAM. It does have a decent sized battery. If you think about the battery size, it's a 2659 mAh, which gives you about 14 hours of video playback. Now, that's if the battery's 100%. It's going to be a little less if it has, of course, not at 100%. If it depreciated the maximum capacity, you're going to get a little bit less than that. Now, other thing about this phone is that, again, it is one of the premium devices. So when it was released with that $999 price tag, now it was now been, like I said, since 5 years since it's been released. So you can't buy it directly from Apple. If you want to buy it, you need to go through Amazon, which you're going to get a pre-owned device, and you can get this device for around $150 to $200. If you guys want to check it out, there's some link in the description section where you can check this phone out. And besides that, this phone again holds up pretty well even after 5.5 years, which goes to show for most iPhones they're going to be good in a lot of uses. So now back into the software of this phone. Now, this phone was originally released on iOS 12. It did get iOS 17 update as well, and this might be the last update it gets, but the new update, iOS 18, is going to come towards the end of the year. So if you're using this phone, you don't have to worry about it. It might possibly get iOS 18. It's kind of iffy in terms of Apple will support a phone after 5 years or 5 major updates. But even if it isn't updated, you can see here most of the apps that you run, from watching videos, streaming services, music services, YouTube, all of the apps are working. There is no app that doesn't work on this phone, so you don't have to worry about it. From your popular social media apps to your gaming apps to your shopping apps, your entertainment apps, all of them are working without any issues. As you can see here, I can launch most of the apps. It does take sometimes couple seconds for an app to fully launch. You'll see here when I launch an app, as you can see here, it doesn't load up right away, unlike a newer iPhone, and that's because, of course, it has aged just because of the timeline for it. But for the basic stuff, for calling, texting, all of that stuff is simply going to be your bread and butter for this phone without any issues, and that kind of goes for most Apple iPhones. They don't really depreciate the basic functionality, which is calling, texting, and even browsing. As you can see here, you can launch websites and such in about 2 to 3 seconds. It isn't going to be the fastest, but it will get the job done for you. And you can see here most of the apps I have, again, downloads, and you're not going to have any issues with your apps because it's on the latest iOS version. And even next year, you probably won't have any issues with this phone whatsoever. So is the iPhone XS still worth it? Now, a couple questions when it comes to that is a couple things that you might want to consider is this phone unfortunately doesn't have 5G. Hardware doesn't support 5G. 5G started with iPhone 12 and later, and most carriers nowadays have 5G. So 5G is something that's important to you for speed, for cellular data. Again, this phone might not be the option for you. What's good about this phone is the physical SIM card, which you no longer get on the US model iPhone. You have to use eSIM card. So if you're a fan of physical SIM card, or you go to carriers that don't support eSIM card. This is where the iPhone XS will excel for you. Now, again, the price point is pretty much a steal for this phone, considering it's almost 1/10 the price you would pay for a new phone. Unfortunately, you can't get this new phone because Apple no longer produces this model. So if you're getting this phone, you're most likely going to be getting it from, as I mentioned, Amazon. So that's going to be the other thing of it. So in terms of, is it worth it in 2024? It's definitely still a decent phone in terms of the things that it does offer, from a decent battery life to even a decent camera. And even when it comes to things like photography, you'll see here you'll be able to do most of your photography, unless you're looking for a really high end. In that case, most likely you will be upgrading to a new phone. So decent sized camera, decent battery, decent performance so far yet. So if you're using the phone and don't feel like spending another $1,000 or so on a newer iPhone, the iPhone XS still gets the job done. Now, if you're thinking about upgrading from an older model, the iPhone XS is a good choice. You might also consider maybe iPhone 11 Pro or 12 Pro if you don't want to spend too much price, maybe just extra $100 or so for another of those model. Now, if you're thinking about kind of keeping this phone, again, for this year, even next year, you're going to be good to go. So iPhone XS, in our verdict, is still worth it going into 2024. Will be still worth it most likely going into next year as well if you don't want to get it. But if you were looking for those enhancements like the 5G, maybe 120 hertz refresh rate, because this is only a 60 hertz refresh rate, and maybe upgraded triple camera instead of dual camera. Those are kind of the minor upgrades. A battery life improvement. Those are kind of the things that usually Apple incrementally improves on it. But the software is the same for the most part. Most of the features are available on the iPhone XS here. And that's kind of our review for it. We want to hear from you guys. What's your thought on the iPhone XS going to 2024? Are you currently using it? Have you used it? Have you upgraded from it? Think about upgrading. Leave a comment in the comment section. And thanks for watching, guys. See you guys next time.